What's up everyone, Steven here from Techmaker Studio. This is building a decentralized Twitter clone with React.js and Aleph.im part 5. So far we've pretty much just been focused on getting the user interface kind of set up, and in the last episode we set up this empty modal. And finally in this episode we're going to work on actually posting to the Aleph network. So with that said, let's jump straight into it. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already and you want to see more content like this. But let's get into actually hooking this up. So let's close down some of this stuff because we don't need it and it's just in the way. So let's keep app.js open. And what else? Let's see. We want to look at our post form modal here. So first of all, let's just rough in our actual form functionality before we even worry about trying to push data to the network. So first things first, I'm going to create a text area here, and I'm going to say the value is... Actually, let's not even worry about the value because we're not going to edit this. So we're going to say on change, and then we'll say something like set, what do we want to call this? Set post content. And what we want to do is basically close this off. And I think that's pretty much it. We could actually add, well, let's add a placeholder. Let's make this a self-closing tag because there's not going to be anything in here. So we'll say placeholder equals, and then type your message. We won't keep that placeholder, but for now, what we need to do is import use state from React, because this is basically our this is a hook that we need in order to have this this here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have const, and then we'll say post content, set post content equals use state. And then we'll just maybe give it like an empty string. And we won't be able to actually call this directly now that I'm looking at this. What we need to do is have a function that's like handle, let's just call it handle typing. It doesn't really matter. It's a specific function to this component. So we'll say const handle typing equals, it's going to take an event, and then we're going to like add this function here. And let's see, first of all, let's just console.log e.target.value. Okay, so what have we done so far? We're not using this at all, and we have a handle typing message on our text area here. And again, I'm assuming a little bit of React know-how for this, but essentially just a custom function declared on our component, and then we're calling it here, and this by default will pass in the event, and it's on change, which is listening for any kind of change to this input. So if we open up our console here, so you can see as we type or whatever, it's being logged out here on our console. And one thing I want to do really quick before I move on is just fix the styling of this. Let's make this have a class name of form control. And let's save and see what that does. Okay, so now you can see that takes up this whole area, and that looks a little bit better. I don't think I want to have a close button because we already have an X up here which does the same exact thing. And then what I'm going to do here is just change this to post, like so. And then right above the text area, let's add a label, and it's just going to say post something. This obviously isn't going to stay like this. And that should be black. Actually, you know what? We will maybe make this, we will maybe edit this so, like you can see here, we have the text is just white text because of our defaults that we set up. So I'm not gonna go to the trouble of coloring the text yet. Doesn't matter. We'll fix the styling of this in a minute. Okay, so what I want to do is on click on this button, we're going to let's call it submit post. Okay, and then here we'll have a new function, submit post, and again we'll take an E because well, that's just a button, so it shouldn't have a default event, I don't think, but we'll just go ahead and prevent default anyway, in case I'm just letting something slip my mind at the moment. And in here, let's just console.log the value. So we'll say post content. Okay, so what we need to do up here is we need to say set post content e.target.value. And what that's basically going to do, if you're not that familiar with these hooks, is it's going to set this first variable to be whatever is passed in. So every time we type, it's changing this thing in the state. And then when we click, we're actually going to console.log, and this is where we're ultimately going to submit our data to the network. Okay. So if we open up here and let's refresh the page again. So now we're not getting anything there, but if I click post, we get this logging out here, so we are submitting. One last thing before I forget, let's try this. And again, I take these things in baby steps sometimes just because I don't want to assume anything and get down the road and realize, oh, we broke something way back where. So let's switch this over to be an async function and just make sure that we can still call it and it doesn't cause us any issues back in the browser. Tab index, invalid DOM property. That's something else. Probably we will have to change some of this up, but it doesn't seem to be causing any major issues right now, so we won't worry about it too much. Okay, so now we're still submitting, no problem. Okay, so let's hook up Aleph, and if we go back over here to our post, create a post. So I'm just going to copy some code straight from the documentation, as I like to do. So if we jump back to the code above our React stuff even, let's import posts from Aleph. And then what we want to do probably, we have Aleph account here in our app. So down here in our post form modal, we'll want to say Aleph account equals Aleph account, right? And then we'll make use of that in just a second. And what we want to do is just copy this line of code, or this set of code here, chunk of code, block of code. And instead of console logging, let's paste this in here. Basically, what do we have here? Let's change this to be chat, because that is the that is what we are pulling from. Aleph account, and that should be props account.address. I missed that. There we go. Okay, so basically, let's look at what we're doing here. So submit post, we have a preventing default, which may or may not be doing anything, and then we're awaiting post.submit. We're passing in our address. We're in the chat type. I keep wanting to call this the channel, but this is the channel. I don't think the channel is going to have a huge impact on what we're pulling back. Let's actually verify that. Let's look at posts here. So we're pulling back get post. We're not specifying a channel. I think this is just the type. And then we have this refs haul. So what we want to do here, if we want this to show up, is to say ref haul. Okay, which again, this is kind of like a foreign key. If you leave it off, it just won't show up in our query, but it'll still show up on the network. Let me make sure I put that in the right place. I don't see ref anywhere. I'm just gonna assume, let me make sure, let me do a quick search for ref, pass the ref in the optional object parameter. And that goes in the optional parameters, which I believe we are in here. I think that's correct. Okay, enough beating around the bush. Let's try this out. So basically right now, what should happen when I click this is it should prompt me to sign a message in my wallet because it's trying to submit something to the network on my behalf. So I'm gonna sign this. Let's go look on Explorer. And you can see here we have this post to chat. And this is us. Content body is test. The ref is haul. And let's see if that's my address. So 0xd4f, 0xd4f. Yep, that's me. Okay. Cool. So now what we want to do, and this is simple, is we just want to swap this from being the word test to being our post content. Okay. All right, so if I refresh this page, I should have test at the top, which this does take a second to load sometimes. So we'll need like a loading screen or something. Sometimes this is really fast and occasionally it can have a little bit of a lag. I don't need that at the moment. Sometimes apparently it has a lot of a lag. I think probably what we'll need to do is set up some kind of caching so that we're not constantly querying from the base level network. So again, I think this is going to be a pretty in-depth series. I'm basically going to build out a real Twitter-like platform with some new features, and I'm going to do it all live. So this is still really early on in the process. But here we go. We got test. And then we'll say testing from Techmaker Studio workshop series. Okay, so let's try to post this. Cannot read undefined reading address. Props.aleph account. Let's go back. Okay, that didn't do anything. Okay, so maybe it thought I wasn't logged in. I've noticed a few times if I just click refresh up here that it doesn't actually swap over there. So let's try that again. Testing from Techmaker Studio workshop. Okay, let's see if this works. So it's asking me to sign. Let's go look over on the network. Chat. A few seconds ago, testing from Techmaker Studio Workshop. And if we refresh the page, we should be the top of the list whenever this eventually loads. Yeah, so I definitely think we're going to have to figure out a caching strategy, like a UX combination with caching, something like that. Okay. Because querying from the network is going to be slow, and I suspect that the more people who use this, the slower it will be potentially. I don't quite understand the scaling plan. But anyway, cool thing is now we can post to the network, and we are just posting to the chat channel right now. Which again, what's neat about this is, and I keep emphasizing this point, And I think that this is hard to overstate how cool I think this is. If anybody's trying out let's go to aleph.im. What's cool about this is if we look at the developers page and then we do the simplest possible dApp. Well, I would have to download it and stuff. I thought maybe they had a live version running. Basically, they have this chat set up, and whatever message I'm posting here also shows up in that chat because it pulls from the same data source, which is anything with this type of chat. And so, like, if you're in like the room hall, they have some other rooms, like it would show up. So what's nice about that is anybody can build something and on top of this pre-existing data that does present a whole bunch of problems, which I think there are solutions to, but it would be wrong to say there are not challenges. But if anybody can post data, that means anybody can post whatever kind of illicit stuff they want and have it show up in your app, and that's not cool. But there's ways around that, which we will handle in this series. For example, you'll only see things that the people you're following post. So there's no way for somebody to fake a post coming from somebody you follow. So, that way you don't see anything you don't necessarily want to see on your app. But, in terms of nothing showing up in the network, there's no way really to prevent people from posting whatever they want because it's open and decentralized. So that's definitely a challenge. Alrighty. With all that said, I think we're going to wrap this up here. We can post to the network now. What we're going to do in the next couple of episodes is continue to clean up this design a little bit more. We need to hook up WebSockets so that these things come in live. Like when we click submit, it should actually post it to our page as soon as it's ready. Let's see, what else? We need to swap over to our own data model, add the ability to add comments, fix the profile, things like that. One thing you may also have noticed is that anytime we post something, we have to sign a message in our wallet. And I think that there's a way around that, and we're going to kind of take a look at how we might be able to approach that as we go forward as well. But definitely profiles, usernames, I think we're going to integrate, we're definitely going to integrate ENS. If you're not familiar with ENS, let's see if that pops up here. So this is sort of the default Ethereum naming service, so you can kind of own a unique user ID. So what we want to do here, because this is a Web3 project, I don't want to rebuild everything. If people have already built really cool stuff, I just want to integrate it because I think that sort of pays respect to them. I think that's how the ecosystem should work. And ENS is easily the most widely adopted, NFT naming service kind of thing. So I think that's a cool way to do that is you connect your account and it prompts you to say okay, which one of these ENS handles do you want to use? If you have multiple, maybe if you own any NFTs, we prompt you to pick one to be your profile picture. So that's going to be what we do with that. I have this other cool idea. And again, what we're going to do is build out the basics of this service, which is going to it could take us a couple more weeks, 10 or 20 more episodes. I have no idea. But we're going to take it wherever we can because there's a wide open road in front of us for what we can do. But once we get down the road, I have some interesting ideas for if you don't own any NFTs, maybe there's a little drawing pad or something that lets you just create one and then publish it to the blockchain. Could be kind of cool. Anyway, so yeah, I think this is going to be really neat. If you're into this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. If you got any questions, leave a comment. I try to answer as many as I can. And share this with anybody who you think might want to see it. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Later.